All right, guys. Well, we might as well get things started. We got a few of you on here now. So, super special guest with me today. I got Justice here with us, client of mine that we started working together about 2 months ago, I think, wasn't it? Just over 2 months ago.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So, today we're going to be breaking down his journey, kind of where he was at when he started working with me and kind of where he was at before that. And then where he is now, 2 months later, just coming off his first 30K month. So, Justice is a
Ooh,
massive action taker, someone that really just executes and implements. And that's the reason that ultimately he's grown as quickly as he has. So to kind of kick things off here, I'm going to let him do a little intro of himself and talk a little bit about who he serves with this coaching program itself. And we're going to dive into things from there.
appreciate that, man. Yeah, super thankful for being here. Thanks for having me in this interview today. And really to kind of kick back, even when you just kind of say the 30K a month, it still even just blows my mind the progress we've had even since it started working. But even just to jump back, I kind of started off. I got my degrees in accounting. Shoot, I can go back far now. I got my degrees in accounting. Pretty much, living the 9 to 5 grind. Was always big into music before, so I was kind of self-taught. Always I knew that I didn't love the numbers thing on the accounting side, so I always wanted some kind of side hustle to potentially take full time. Kind of found myself as a music producer. Was self-taught for like 3 years. Ended up working in a studio after that for about 3 years or so, and then at that point, I kind of realized that especially when COVID kicked in, I realized that the time I was putting in order to like just the time value there was not time money value was not just not adding up. I was realizing I was working, at least 40 hours at my accounting job, 20 plus, 20 hours a week at the music studio, working on weekends. So just kind of grinding away and realizing there's got to be a better way. So luckily I decided to take a step back right around the time COVID came in, started looking at kind of investing opportunities online, found affiliate marketing through my first kind of quote unquote program. One of these, it's like a $40 program, just kind of test in and kind of test the waters there. They had some big upsell I didn't take. But from that point, it kind of got me in, and that was around July. And then kind of played around, was already kind of now aware of this whole situation of online, this internet marketing world. Fast forward to September, I kind of made my first big investment in myself, you could say, dropped about 2,500 on a program. It was good, but it just didn't kind of get me to where I wanted to be. And then I ended up eventually getting myself a coach and kind of learn the whole organic side. And then at that point, finally started to learn about high ticket and the true high ticket, not really the whole value ladder piece. Flash forward from there. And, my first month, I was lucky to get my first high ticket sale. Second month kind of was a dud. It was going really slow. Third month after that, I was able to break my first 10K month. But I was starting to run into issues as far as I feel like my sales process was pretty solid, but I knew I was going to be running into issues based off people I was talking to, like Blake and even some other guys too, where just realized I was going to get myself into a rough situation with my affiliate side and my coaching side that I was trying to kind of blossom as well there. So at that point is really when I was looking around, and I had like a couple different options, but I got on the phone with Blake luckily, and thank goodness, man. I thought that I wasn't sure if this guy was too busy, what the case was going to be, but we got on the phone, and I just knew from there it was exactly what I was looking for, because others was just really kind of broad topic, kind of, I'm always looking to learn and invest in myself. So others was very kind of broad, and I feel like Blake was really just specifically what I needed there. So I jumped in with him, and man, the rest was kind of history. I'm happy to talk more about all that. But yeah, man, that's kind of what got me up to you. And to kind of go past that point, how much you want me to go in, man? I could go on.
That's good on that, man. We're kind of like, I want to touch a little bit further on kind of like when you made that switch and you decided to work with me. I know like
Yeah.
at the time you had just came off your first 10K month with affiliate marketing. So you grew super quickly with that. You had a really strong foundation in place. You had an audience built up. You had a Facebook group that had some foundational members. It wasn't huge, but you had some members in there. And you were kind of making that transition to more full-on coaching. So at the time you were doing affiliate marketing and kind of one-to-one coaching, correct?
Absolutely. Kind of got a
Yep.
grip of it with the supporting my affiliates just as like my bonuses, and really wanted to take to the next level. And yeah, that's really what I was trying to put my emphasis on. We linked up.
So at the time when we kind of started working together, what do you feel like was the biggest thing that you wanted out of our time together when you started? Like, what was the most attractive thing to you? Was it kind of getting away from the one-to-one side of things? What were you looking for with that?
Uh, I think it's been funny you say that because that wasn't even what I thought would be an issue. But then I started to realize that that was a major thing that was going to free up my time. I was realizing looking at my calendar that it was like basically I could either focus on making sales, and then the more sales I was making, I was setting myself up almost for failure. Where now I'm making these sales, and now my calendar's getting booked up because I'm offering people support, once a week, and then the more sales I'm making, the more my calendar's getting booked up, less time for sales, and that is really where I knew I needed to lean on you there to kind of get that guidance. And so luckily, I know you kind of helped me leverage a whole nother side of my coaching program that was really the big piece too. I knew that I wanted to add another piece on top of the one-to-one to give some support, but also take more off my plate to allow myself to still focus on content, focus on coaching, focus on growing, and without, like I said, just killing myself as far as time management goes. So that was just such a big piece right there that I feel like that was a big reason why I went to you. And like you said, I didn't even, you opened up my eyes to even more places, as far as, kind of wasting my time on calls that I shouldn't be on, and really just analyzing the numbers, man. That's a big thing, that a huge takeaway, even like from like our first week or two, that we were working together, that I took away from you was really looking at the numbers I was doing and realizing what it is I'm doing, what's giving me results, and what is taking me to get those results. So now I can see what I should be focusing on and where I should kind of reevaluate, to say the least.
100%, man. I think like when we just kick things off, I know number one coaching program, like, so for those of you that don't know, Justice basically helps other affiliates grow their high ticket affiliate marketing business. That's what his coaching offer is, and create freedom without having to create a product. And through that, he was doing one-to-ones before, and kind of at the point, like he just said, the two biggest issues I saw right away was, one, he was spending a lot of time on one-to-one calls, and it was very tough to scale because he was limited with the time spent with that. And then two, he was a beast at getting calls booked. Like, he was doing a really good job at getting consistent sales opportunities booked. But I think what we needed to do right away was refine that and make sure that he was getting on more qualified calls, so he wasn't spending a bunch of time on all these calls itself. So I think
Absolutely.
two big shifts we made right away was, number one, like you said, diving into the numbers, being aware of, okay, where should we put the focus? And I think making that switch for you with KPIs really led to a big shift right away. Like, even I think after our first call, you landed like a $2,500 sale.
Exactly, man. I'm telling you, and you even hit a good point too. Like, that's really who I was trying to serve with my coaching program. You hit on the head there. Affiliates and people are trying to grow without having to have their own product there. And that was another big piece I remember too. We discussed our goals kind of in our first even call there. And I really, a big thing for me was not only, I think I even had a goal of hitting my first 20K month was a goal with you, but even another big one for me was really just like customer satisfaction. I could tell kind of just by the way that you were handling your groups and handling just all of your students and all your clients, that it was basically next level to kind of even what I'd experienced, because I'd had other mentors before who really, like I felt they helped me a lot on the sales side. But as far as now supporting my clients and able to just give them the best service they can possibly get, I knew that was a big thing that I didn't want to just let slip through the cracks, right? And kind of just focus on the sales and just, all right, like, forget these guys, I got them in, let's move on. Like that was one thing I wanted to make sure that I was definitely getting some support from you there, which was huge.
100%, man. That's a super important piece that honestly a lot of people overlook. And I think kind of like going deeper on that, like before we started, was like KPIs, was that something that you had focused on too much before? Was that something like that when we just started that was new to you at the time? I know you're a numbers guy, so.
Yeah. Now, it's like I have a number of guys too. So at the time before we even met, I wasn't even looking at the numbers. I was more so going blindly. I remember before I just knew that like kind of my goal was always to get 15 calls booked a week. And now it's funny. I think we even talked about this more recently. It's like, my closing numbers at the time were, like we said, 20% when I first started. And by the end of it, we got up to 40%. And so it's funny how the shift has come now where I'm really critical of or analyzing the people that I'm actually willing to jump on the phone with now compared to before, where I think I was just in such a go mode where I didn't care about the time that I was potentially wasting with people, just because I wanted to, just because I was just in such a go mode. So, but then when we started to look at the numbers, actually looking at how many calls I was getting on, how many, my revenue per call and things like that, specific numbers like that there, it changed the way that, like I said, I think now all of a sudden I'm thinking, like I said, it's like I want to keep that percentage as high as possible. That's really how I see it now. So just a complete mental shift there. I'm telling you, man, that changed everything.
100%, man. I think too, like 15 calls a week, that's crazy numbers. And that's the thing that I love about Justice is the dude just executes, he just implements. And yeah, maybe in the beginning he wasn't getting on a bunch of qualified calls and he had to put more input into it and get more calls booked, but he was still going out and making those calls happen because he knew what it would lead to. So then it was just a matter of refining things and improving the process. So he was speaking to higher quality people and able to kind of take back some of his time on calls itself.
Absolutely. And you gave me plenty of, like you said, strategies too. I know we even talked about getting into specifics a little bit, but just booking links compared to where I'm at compared to not using one before. I think that was a lot of thing where kind of I was, instead of forcing people to get on the phone with me, not strong arming them, but pretty much being like, hey, you slightly interested in getting the call and making this happen? It's like deep down, they might say yes, but deep down, a lot of the people I was talking to probably didn't even want to be there with me and just really, like you said, just were not as qualified. So now I was getting on the phone with them a lot. And now that I've been able to decrease my time with them more so, it's just free up time like to a major degree.
Crazy enough though, man, like hitting your first 10K month without even having booking links, without knowing your numbers. Like usually most people can't get past 5K month without knowing their KPIs. But the fact that you were able to do that is really impressive. And I think implementing that allowed you to create kind of predictable growth in your business. You knew exactly what numbers you hit and you knew how to refine those in order to get to that next mark.
Right. And that was kind of my first stance with the number side. Exactly. I was like, all right, if I can get this much booked, I should at least be able to close X amount of these if I'm doing this per week. So that was really a big goal for me right there. And yeah, it's like, but I love how kind of goals switched up, especially it's crazy. It's only been 2 months, like I said, since since we joined up, but how things have changed so drastically. It's kind of unbelievable because I really was, part of me was thinking before we linked up that I would just kind of keep doing what I was doing. And I was like, hey, like I got a system, it's working. And, sure it was working, but like I said, I could just tell I was setting myself up for failure and I needed a way around that. So you helped me in more ways than I could have imagined, honestly.
So you went from like joining, you were at just over 10K. I think you hit what the first month we worked together, I think it was like 15 or close to around there. Yep. And then this last month, you just came off your first 30K month, which is nuts. And kind of with that shift over that last 2 months, what do you feel like on your end was the biggest shift for you that led to that?
Man, the biggest shift. I mean, having the group coaching now that I have, the program that basically you helped me create and structure right there, that was a big piece. That, and on top of that too, my content. So I think even before we started, actually, I was more of just I think we even talked about it too, where I don't mind being in Messenger. And like, I know a lot of people are kind of, anti reaching out and kind of don't want to be in Messenger all day. But my mentality, I was just like, hey, if I do, once again, kind of that was my numbers thing. If I can do this and kind of talk to this many people, that's going to help out my percentage of getting closings and things like that. So to move from that, yeah, it's like, I forget I was going from that there, but basically, man, it's kind of unbelievable how having the group coaching, I was like, you asked me what the biggest things that changed it for me were really just the group. Oh, that's what I was leading that up to, was the content. So the content, that was one thing where I think when we first had started, I did my first kind of launch post. And so that was one thing that definitely helped me. And I never utilized that because once again, I was just so focused on the Messenger side. So when you helped me out with the content there, that really gave me so I kind of feel like even for like that a month and a half straight, I had my content more dialed in than I've ever had over, for me to get up to my first 10K month, content was, to me, it was like, hey, if people like my post, I was kind of one of those where it's like, hey, I'm just kind of playing the engagement game. If they like my post, great. They're kind of helping my branding. Cool. That's a win for me. I can keep my business going. But the content side was something I never taken advantage of as far as getting warm leads that way. And so I really loved leveraging that side with the content. And then on top of that, now having other options outside of the one-to-one to actually promote, outside of the one-to-one and the affiliate side. Of course, still doing the affiliate and the one-to-one was my main two that kind of got me to the 10K month, my first 10K month. But now having the groups is kind of a downsell and more options. And options that aren't only going to allow me to, an option that's, you could say, a cheaper or more affordable option for people. But at the end of the day, too, there's a bonus as well where it's allowing me to now not take as much of my time. And I'm still able to crank out sales without having to lock in myself to, hour calls with every single person one-to-one and having a book calendar where it's not allowing me to make more sales. So I think having that group coaching option was huge, allowing myself to generate leads through content was something on top. When you're leveraging that on top of what you're doing with the cold outreach or messenger, it just creates a snowball effect there. It's and then on top of that, just helping you with kind of going about how to even handle some of those, quote unquote, two-step posts, lead generating posts, and know how to go about that the right way. I was kind of being, quote unquote, aggressive, you could say, where not aggressive, but just kind of like really direct and jumping to people on the call, where once again, I wasn't qualifying people as much, which was making me waste more time. And so now with that kind of lead generating content, actually knowing how to go about it, where now I'm finding out whether someone is a good fit beforehand before I waste my time. And now it's like the people I'm getting on calls with, that's a huge reason why my percentages are going up, because I'm actually having quality conversations with people on the phone who are actually trying to move their business forward. So yeah,
I think, like you said too, a big factor of that is content. And I think like for you, like you were super proactive. You knew that you could, if you hit a certain number of numbers in Messenger, you would make the results happen, which is what most people need to do in the beginning to get that in place. And I think that was awesome that you did that. But I think at the end of the day, it's not super sustainable long term. And that's where you can start making content work for you and making Facebook work for you rather than the other way around. And then you start not only attracting higher quality people, but increasing the closing percentage too.
absolutely there. And it's like kind of like with the whole messenger thing too. If you're only focused on that, I always like to think too, it's like you don't want to be stuck in the 9 to 5 mode of your business, right? So doing the content side, once again, just allows you to weed out people and just allow you to focus on the quality leads that much more. So the more you can kind of eventually lean on that, the better.
Progressively becoming the CEO of your business. And I think let's pull up too.
There you
Pascal
go.
had a quick question for you. So he said, did you have a sales process down pat before starting to work with Blake?
Yeah, I would say that I was confident in my sales process, to say the least. But one thing that Blake did help me with is that I was always setting up. And this is as far, so even just to take a step back. So I'm big on getting on the phone. So my sales process really was, let's just say, before I even talked to Blake, talk to someone in Messenger. Like I said, I wasn't relying on content. Speak with someone in Messenger, getting them on the phone, and then really just trying to get my pitch out there on the phone, make it happen, have a conversation, build rapport, show you're an expert and authority, enthusiastic about what you're doing, and try to close a sale there. So that was really always my core and my kind of grind there with the sales side. But one thing, once again, I was always setting aside like at least 45 minutes to an hour with every person I had a phone call with. And so that was another big thing that Blake helped me with there, was realizing that, all right, maybe for certain people, break it down to even just like a 15-minute call, just something so where you're not wasting all that time and just once again get that time back in your day. So I think, does that help my sales side? I think that my sales process was pretty much down, but that helped me in so much other areas. It's like technically, I don't know if that exactly helped me on the sales side, but once again, all these things are just so much more connected than I knew before. So once again, in my mind, I was like, hey, I'm getting on sales calls. I got the process down. I'm fine. But now at the end of the day, I'm hurting myself in other areas because I'm just having 45-minute calls with everyone and their mother out here just trying to make something happen. So yeah.
100%. I agree with you, man. I think you had some solid sales skills in place when we started. Like, one, you have really good energy, and that's a big sales skill to have alone. Two, you're really good at actually listening to people, which some people just talk too much on sales calls itself, which can lead to not good results with that. But I think at the end of the day, even if you don't have amazing sales skills, if you're getting on the phone with the right people, that ultimately is going to lead to some big shifts. And that's going to be a huge difference maker alone.
Absolutely there. And even adding things like the booking link, like you said, that helped my sales process as well, for kind of pre-framing it before I even got on the call with them. For people I felt were qualified leads already, ask them questions before they get on there that are very intentional to kind of getting this. So now when they get on the phone, they're more so, not to say that they're expecting a pitch, but they kind of know what they're getting into more. Where I feel like before, when I was getting on the phone with people, I was, like I said, some of these people weren't even really trying to talk to me. You could say pretty much. I just ended up getting them on the phone there. But by the end of it, I was just giving them this pitch that was just like, where did that come from, kind of thing. Like, so really, so really kind of switching up the style there honestly helped a lot too. Absolutely.
Cool, man. So I'm curious too, like after going and breaking your first 15K week and now just hitting your first 30K month in the last 2 months, like how does that feel on your end? What was the reaction when you made that happen?
Every time we talk about it, I still don't even believe it, man. When we, it's like what was my reaction? I think a lot of the times too, you've helped me with this too, man, where I just tend to I tend to, even when I get results, anything positive from my business going like that, I just like try to keep my head down and just keep going, keep going. So I think we even talked about it where you're like, man, take a step back and just like celebrate your wins here. Like, don't overlook this. This is a huge thing, and that's why it still sometimes hasn't sank in. But I definitely took like 2 days at the end of March there to just completely really detach and just like, yeah, let this thing sink in. Not feeling guilty to like once again put the sales away for a little bit, like like just go ahead and spend some extra time with my family, because once again it's like this is the beauty of being able to do this, like not having a true 9 to 5, not having to focus on a 9 to 5, so you can actually work your own schedule, take breaks, and not like I'm not using vacation days. I can still get some work in here and there. So it's just, oh man, it's been a sweet little spot to be in right now, man. I can't complain.
100%. And that's like, honestly, that's something that I used to deal with too, where I didn't take the time to celebrate wins. And that's number one, why I always say, like, I'm proud of you and we're working together, because truly, like, at the end of the day, the reason you're getting these results isn't because, yes, it's helpful that I'm giving you insight on what steps to take, but at the end of the day, you execute. You put in a lot of hard work. And that's the reason you've gotten to where you have in such a short period of time. And I think it's super, super important to slow down at points in that journey and really celebrate kind of what you've accomplished. Otherwise, you kind of just get caught up in it, and out of nowhere you get burned out through that.
Exactly. I think that burnout's a big piece right there, where it's like eventually you're going to have to take a break. So it's like no better time to take a break than when actually you kind of can pat yourself on the back and enjoy that kind of success you've had. And yeah, I think even people where even when I had my first $1,000 day, it was the same thing. I got my first, even before we were working together, and basically, the mentor I was talking to at the time, he's like, yeah, go back and celebrate this. Go get to buy your wife a dinner or something. Like, just do something there to celebrate, because yeah, or else you're just gonna get stuck, and then you're gonna get negative if you feel like you don't get another sale after that. It's like you just got to keep pushing and leverage that momentum too. That's another big thing to why I feel like it's so important to stay forward, because no matter, even if you just get one high ticket sale, like when I got my first high ticket sale, I think we've even talked about it, that sale ended up getting refunded, but at the end of the day, I was still leveraging the heck out of myself getting a high ticket sale there, because it's just all a momentum game here. If you're in this and then you decide to take a break for 3 months, you're kind of starting back off from square one now. And I've seen it happen to others, and it's like I just knew that I just had to keep my foot on the pedal there and just keep things going.
100%, man. And I think like that's really, really important. Like what you talked about even early on the journey too, for you guys watching, like even if it's a small win early on, even if it's doing your first live video, taking some time at the end of every week to celebrate what you've accomplished, that's what leads to momentum. But if you are constantly beating yourself up saying, oh, I didn't land a sale this week, or I didn't land my first high ticket sale in this first month, it's going to be very hard to propel things to the next level in the next month. So take some time to celebrate those wins and be aware of where you're at.
Man, yeah, can't put enough emphasis on that there. Seriously.
So with that said, we'll kind of wrap things up here. I want to make sure anybody else has questions, we cover those. So if you have any questions for those that are watching now on the live, let us know in the chat. We'll go over those before we wrap up.
Drop them.
Justice kind of shared too, man. I know like you just shared this last month. Like you went from being how many $1,000s in debt to now being fully out of debt with a baby on the way. And now that you have this in place, like how are you feeling with like the time that you have allocated towards your business versus this baby coming on the way? I'm sure you're pretty excited for that, but.
Oh man, absolutely. And that even just brings up another point where it's like, a lot of people I even talk to, they're like, oh, I'm in debt. I don't feel like, invest into myself, X, Y, Z. And I think that obviously it was more so tough for me to tell my wife about it. Like, she like, hey, I really want to take a chance on this, and I think it can help us. She's like, man, like I said, we were $20,000 in debt. Like this does not seem like the right time to do this, but so thankful that I did, and that man, we move forward and just making the right decisions and making the right connections, especially jumping on people like you there, where now we look, where we're at currently. It's just unbelievable. The fact that once again, we're able to pay off that $20,000 within, the journey there was like 10 months, but really the journey took a major step up with this internet marketing business. And especially even more so, like, I think I paid that off maybe around like the second or third week that we started working together. And now everything that I'm building up now, it's just like, and it's just freeing up options. Now that we have a baby on the way, we're able to now think about, whether, my wife wants to stay at home from work and things like that. Things that just were like never a potential option, because now having things like 5-figure months this consistently, and be able to hit 30K months, like, the cash is able to bring in, and just knowing that this thing works, man, it's just, I can't even, the freedom it's kind of given us mentally is incredible there. It's incredible. And even with the baby on the way, it's like now knowing that once another thing, right back to the time management, obviously when you first have a kid, the baby starts born. I got another one who's 2 years old right now too. And it's like, that first kind of week, 2 weeks or month can be super hectic there. Right. And so now it's like having the time management part down that much more, it allows me where I can now game plan ahead of time, one, but also still be effective that much more. I've always known about, just focus on income producing activities, but in general, like now the kind of way that I run my business, thanks to people like Blake there, it really is going to allow me to be effective there with, even if I have 3-4 hours in the day, know exactly what I got to do with it. And to be able to really just sustain and take care of my clients, still be able to get some sales here and there, and, not just completely feel like I have to hit the pause button, for a straight month, so
100%.
Just incredible.
I think that's the shift you can make as you continue to grow. In the beginning, it's tough because you got to learn all the skills. You got to learn sales, marketing, and all that. And then as you continue to grow, you're able to kind of take a look and say, okay, which of these elements am I best at? Which do I enjoy doing? And which can I start to offload? And I think now you're getting to the point where you have an assistant that's working for you, and you're continually growing your team on that end.
Man, exactly there. Don't underestimate that there too for people out there, but especially, yeah, it does take time. I think, like you said there too, it's good to be a jack of all trades kind of the beginning, and you kind of have to. But yeah, then once you're able to get to that point, don't be afraid to leverage others and start growing your team. Like that's one thing that I love that Blake has been so good at, and I'm continually learning from him on just using that, and also like automations. I didn't, before I met Blake, I wasn't using any automations basically, and so now even adding that, it's like there's things that you can even use with. You don't have to even have a team member for. You can still technically save yourself time by adding these into your business and into your system here. Like that alone has saved me hours of my day, where it's just things that are so tedious, and you just to get them off your plate can help you to really now focus that much more on your income producing activities that are going to really push that business forward.
150%, man. We got another question from Pascal here. He said, would you say, I'll shed some light on this too, but I'll let you go first. Would you say it's critical to have a Facebook group when getting started to start getting sales?
Man, I know. I'm curious to see what you're going to say after Blake, but here's what I always say personally. I always kind of recommend staying away from the Facebook group when you're first starting. I think for me, I made mine after, maybe even too early is what I would think. But at the end of the day, I think it's good to kind of have a place where you can now start to grow it, because we all know how powerful a Facebook group can be once it kind of hits a couple hundred, and now it kind of starting to have people just automatically starting to join. But what I kind of say also is that when you're trying to manage a whole Facebook group, it's kind of like trying to manage a whole nother platform, and I always kind of say for a lot of people that I'm working with, where they're like, hey, obviously I'm driving them on the Facebook organic side, but they said, oh, you know what? I really like TikTok, and I got this other YouTube channel I'm doing, and like, I really want to keep that going too. I'm like, hey, at the end of the day, it's your business. You do what you want to do, but I'm going to tell you that I think that if you focus on one, and especially if you haven't made any commissions or very few commissions, whatever the case is, there's no reason for you not to just try and put your effort in one place and just grind it out until you now are starting to get some results there. That's kind of how I feel with the Facebook group, where it's kind of like you're having to baby another platform in a little bit, because especially if you want it to be in an actual group that has engagement, things like that there. But with that being said, I think that's pretty much what I would say about it. It just can be tough in the beginning. So I 100% did not leverage it to make my first 10K month. But now it's a strong part of my strategy, to say the least. So yeah, hopefully that sheds some light. But yeah, what do you guys say there, Blake?
I agree with you a lot on that, man. I look at it this way. I say if you're just getting started and you only have 10 hours a week and you're working a full-time job, then I recommend not doing a Facebook group, because just like Justice said, it's a whole nother channel that you have to be consistent with in posting content. But if you have more than 10 hours a week, if you're part-time online, or you have 20 hours a week to work online, I think it's a good thing to implement, because you're kind of building your own audience of your own people, where it's just being exposed to you itself. And it's a long-term play. It will play dividends down the line. But really it just comes down to, do you have the time to allocate to it? And I think if you do it. If not, you don't need it.
Absolutely there, man. And I think even for me, when I had started my group, it was when I was, like I said, I think it was back in December I officially started mine, and I was booking, 10 to 15 calls with people a week, and I realized that I was having these calls, and then I was pretty much lost all connection with these people. So what I kind of did, even just to kind of jumpstart my group that much more, was I pretty much just reached out to all the people who I had a conversation with. I actually jumped on the phone with, especially, and just said, "Hey, like I'm starting this free Facebook group. If you want to jump in, I think it'll help provide some clarity. X, Y, Z. Love to have you." And so that was the kind of thing I did to even just kind of jumpstart, so that now, even though I didn't start the first day I made my profile, but at the end of the day, I at least kind of leveraged and kind of got 50 people in there pretty quickly, and now kind of got me going. So yeah.
It's a good place for you to start to build authority, start to earn trust with your audience itself, and really provide an even higher level of value to them.
Yeah, absolutely there.
But I think like your biggest point, like what you talked about with more than anything, simplification. And that's a really big lesson I've learned throughout my whole journey. The more you can simplify, a lot of people overlook it and think, oh, I should still do this platform and this platform. Truly, like it's a very simple thing, but it pays massive dividends if you can really just narrow your focus and go all in with one thing.
Oh, absolutely there, right? And yeah, like so many places, it's like if you're selling, I tell the time too, if you're selling to everyone, you're selling to no one. It's like, I think people think that they're missing out on money. It's like, oh, I should like really be on all these social media platforms, or, I should really just trying to make sure I'm talking to everyone out there with my content there. But being able to lock in that much more and kind of speak to people who are more so kind of who you want to be talking to and the places that you want to be talking to them at, that's just, I think, ultimately the way you want to go about it.
100%, man. All right, guys. Well, we will wrap things up from here. It looks like all the questions have been covered for now. As we wrap things up, Justice, any last words that you have for the audience, any takeaways that you'd like to share with them, or any last words for them? And also feel free to drop some info about how they can find you, because I'd love for them to check out your group too.
Yeah, absolutely. So my Facebook group is Justice for Affiliates. Definitely check that out there. I'd love to have you guys there. Like you said, always catering to my group over there as well. But yeah, and I'll absolutely jump on me in my profile, Justice Severin. But in general, last takeaways, man, just to kind of pay homage a little bit. Obviously, man, Blake, this last 2 months has like totally changed my business and everything here. Like I said, just really fixing so many bottlenecks in my business where I just didn't realize, like I said, really just opening my eyes, because I really thought that I was crushing it and I was doing well, but I really thought that like I kind of had the plan, I was good to go, and I was just gonna, you were gonna help me with a couple little things, and whatever you kind of helped me with, I knew it would be worth it, but I just didn't know it would go into that deep. So definitely, man, caught me by surprise there for real. And yeah, and now I just really love, like I said, helping out other affiliates, helping out other people, and even allow myself to now help people who before was really kind of introducing people to the affiliate world, and now even be able to help people now who have already been in the high ticket affiliate world and be able to assist them as well has been something I always wanted to get into, but now it's been amazing to be actually able to do that and implement that. So like I said, major kudos to you there, because it was not as well rounded before. Like I said, it was really kind of straightforward, all mine on sales and lacking on content pieces. So I'd really just say, think all around your business. Definitely okay to be the jack of all trades in the beginning. I think it's pretty necessary. But yeah, kind of just make sure you're staying focused on those income producing tasks. I say it all the time there, because so many people get lost in the funnels and this and that. It's like at the end of the day, that's not what's going to move your business forward. It's knowing how to work on your sales, knowing how to work on your marketing. And then once you get that going, knowing how to build the right systems in order to sustain it and allow yourself to actually scale and not have to, like I said, when I was starting, not even starting off, when I got my first 10K month, I knew that I was going to run into issues, because people I was talking to, they're saying, all right, so now what happens if you make another 10 sales next month? I'm like, well, shoot, my calendar next month is going to be screwed. It's just going to be pure coaching and that's it. And I guess I'll have to take a hit. They're like, are you okay with that? And then obviously you take a deeper look and you realize, all right, what can I do here? How can I adjust? So big kudos to you there, Blake, because yeah, now, like I said, I feel like my business is in a whole nother place. So I definitely just want to share some love there.
Appreciate that, man. I've loved working with you. And I think like what you just talked about too, like every new level you hit leads to a new level of bottlenecks that you have to be aware of how you can combat those to take things to the next level. And that's really that's all we've done on our end. Like at the end of the day, you were crushing it when we started, but now we're just taking things to the next level. And like you said, more than anything, the relationship that we built, that's what this is all about. Like for all you guys watching here, for me, like just like Justice said, the impact that you're having on one another, your clients that you're working with, the people that you're working with, that's what this is all about. It's the fulfillment behind that and actually building those relationships that don't go away long term. So with that said, thanks for everyone that watched today. I will drop Justice's Facebook group link in the comments for those that want to check that out. And with that said, we will wrap it up. That's a wrap for Justice's journey from going from 10K to 30K in 2 months' time.
Thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate it. Go ahead and jump in that Facebook group too. I'll see you guys inside.
Thanks for joining us, Justice. We'll see you guys.
Thank you, man.